Kentucky Governor Matt Bevin was giving a speech to conservatives on Saturday, and he talked about the possibility of physical violence. At every point in this little piece that we're going to show you, I kept thinking like, ooh, that's bad, but it's probably not going to get worse, is it? And he kept getting worse. Let's watch.
I'll tell you, America is worth fighting for. America is worth fighting for, ideologically. I want us to be able to fight ideologically, mentally, spiritually, economically, so that we don't have to do it physically. But that may in fact be the case. If Hillary Clinton were to win the election, do you think it's possible that we'll be able to survive that? Would we ever be able to recover as a nation? And while there are people who have stood on this stage and said we would not, I would beg to differ, but I will tell you this. I do think it would be possible, but at what price? At what price? The roots of the tree of liberty are watered by what? The blood of who? The tyrants, to be sure, but who else? The patriots. Whose blood will be shed? It may be that of those in this room. It might be that of our children and grandchildren. I have 9 children. It breaks my heart to think that it might be their blood that is needed to redeem something, to reclaim something that we, through our apathy and our indifference, have given away.
That right there is the American Taliban. So guys who encourage violence in the name of their particular ideology, and yes, there's a little bit of religion mixed into that too. Something has to be redeemed. That's religious talk. And fundamentalists of all stripes at the end think, yeah, violence is the answer. I mean, if I read the text of any of these books, the Bible, the Quran, the Old Testament, you name it, it's drenched in blood. So are we surprised that a fundamentalist nut job like Governor Bevin is now talking about blood and how we need to redeem ourselves with blood? I mean, first he said, well, look, we hope it doesn't get physical. And I thought, okay, good. Then he said, but it might. Oh, for God's sake. Don't encourage your already maniacal supporters, who almost all have guns, to maybe do something physical, wink, wink. And then as if that wasn't enough, and that would have been bad from a sitting governor, Jesus Christ. Ironic. Okay, but then to turn around and talk about blood. Oh, hey, Tree of Liberty, you know what it's, we got to water it with blood of tyrants. Later, when they asked him about it, Jesus Christ, what are you talking about here? It seems like you're telling people to take the law into their own hands here in America and do something violent. He said, no, I was mainly talking about our troops. No, you weren't. You were talking about internal politics. And he can't help himself. Even after saying that I was mainly talking about the troops, he adds at the end of his explanation, nor can we allow apathy and indifference to allow our culture to crumble from within. So you were talking about internal politics. Thank you for admitting it. So then he talks about the blood of the patriots. Just when I thought it couldn't get worse, then he brings his kids into it. What on God's green earth are you doing? You got kids and you're talking about how they might have to have blood on their hands or be involved in a bloody fight where they get killed. What are you talking about? You're insane. We now have a party in this country that has lost its mind. This used to be the fringes of the Tea Party. And you'd be like, whoa, look at those guys dressed up in kooky outfits, and they go around, and the Koch brothers pick them up in a bus, and 35 of them come and wearing the hats and carrying the fake muskets and stuff. Now they're in charge. This guy's the governor of Kentucky, talking about how we need to be drenched in blood. God damn it, man. This country is going in a wrong direction. If you're not concerned by this, you're not paying attention. You think every one of his followers is stable? I don't even think he's stable, let alone his followers. And all those guys who have been told their whole life, Second Amendment rights, government's coming for you, government's coming for you. Now make sure if it's somebody like Hillary Clinton and she wins, well, what's the Tree of Liberty watered with for tyrants? Oh yeah, blood. What, did I encourage anybody? Did I encourage anybody to take violence? I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, you did. You just did it. We saw it with our own eyes. These guys are maniacs. They don't believe in democracy. They think, well, if we lose an election, let's go drench ourselves in blood. That's a third world way of thinking. That's a Taliban way of thinking. That's an Al-Qaeda way of thinking. That's an ISIS way of thinking. That's you, Governor Bevin. That's you. We're not supposed to resolve things through violence in America when it comes to politics. We're not supposed to encourage that. We're supposed to have debate, we're supposed to have an exchange of ideas, and then we're supposed to have an election. Ballots, not bullets. But the Republicans don't want to play that game anymore. This is not going to end well. If you're upset with mainstream media, we have the alternative for you. Come build independent media with us. Your membership powers the Young Turks. tytnetwork.com/join.